the biggest thing that's helped me with growing my brand so far is, of course, having my website, but going to networking events and getting involved in my church. Starting off with traditional organic growth and word of mouth, and then growing from there.
No more burnout, no more fear. We'll build it strong, make it clear. Not just a grind, but a dream that's true. Building a business that works for you.
Welcome back to The Builder's Edge, the show where we dive into the business side of building and bring you strategies to help you scale smarter. I'm your host, Deanna Lucas. Today, I'm excited to introduce my guest who knows the design and construction process inside and out. With 18 years of experience in the architecture and AEC, architecture, engineering, and construction industry, Jeff Wisdom is the founder of Wise Design and Management, a firm that specializes in design, permitting, and construction management. What makes Jeff's story powerful is his recent leap from W-2 employment to building his own company with a mission to help new business owners, franchises, and nonprofits open their doors and expand with their confidence. Whether it's tenant improvement projects, churches, or community spaces, Jeff brings a full-service, solutions-driven approach that removes red tape and helps clients hit their milestones. In this episode, we're going to talk about what it takes to successfully launch and scale a project, how to navigate the maze of permitting and design standards, and how Jeff is helping everyday entrepreneurs create spaces that build generational impact. Welcome, Jeff.
Thank you, Deanna. Thank you for the invitation to the show.
You're welcome. Glad you're here. Well, let's dive right into your design and build journey. Jeff, you do have 18 years of this AEC experience and recently shifted into self-employment. Can you walk us through what motivated that transition and how your architectural background shapes what your approach you use today?
In the last 18 years, I've actually been through 5 layoffs in corporate America. Something that can really shake someone to the core, not knowing what's next.
Absolutely. But rarely, maybe you might face one, but rarely would you ever face 5.
Correct.
Yeah, major.
It was one of those things that I had to really take a step back and look at myself and kind of figure out what's going on. Was it something that I was doing wrong? Was it something that in life and in all testament and all faith, I said a prayer to God. I'm Christian. I've got a bit of very devout belief in Christ.
Wonderful.
And looking back on it, it truly is, to me, was God constantly kicking me in the butt saying, you're not supposed to be working for someone. You're supposed to be working for yourself. You're supposed to be out there helping other people make things happen in their lives.
Yeah. Those 5 businesses were the whale and you were Jonah. He kept gobbling you up and spitting you out. Here, you're supposed to be doing what I tell you to do.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay, you focus on helping new business owners and franchises get their doors open. What makes tenant improvement projects unique, and what are the most common early challenges that you help clients overcome?
A tenant improvement project is unique especially because if you're buying into a franchise, you need a space to operate that franchise. And every franchise out there has a brand standard or a design intent protocol of what the franchise wants the spaces that their franchisees are operating in to look like. And you think about it to the core, Chick-fil-A. Every Chick-fil-A you walk into across the country or even across the globe, it looks the same. Every Whataburger, every Burger King, even every Target, Walmart.
Right.
They all have that standard where when the customer walks in, they know where they're at. They're ready to spend money the moment they walk in.
Right. They already trust that that it looks just like all the others, that it is part of that brand. There's a trust there.
Correct.
Right.
So by having a tenant improvement project, we're making a space, an existing space, fit the needs of your brand that you've bought into.
Right.
Every space is going to be different. So
Yeah.
being able to apply that brand image to the space while understanding what the code compliances are in each
Sure.
different jurisdiction
Right.
that is what really comes into play with what we're focused on.
That's the very tricky part, right? Yeah. So
Correct.
that, yeah, and that's where you have experience. And I mean, think about the headache, the torment that people can go through trying to get it right on their own versus having someone that knows exactly what they're looking for every time they go into a space and making that click and getting it finalized. Good job.
Absolutely. One of our biggest success that we've been part of, we had a franchisee that was had hired us to do the design, the permitting, and the construction management for their tenant improvement space in New Jersey. Because we were able, for someone that doesn't necessarily understand the construction, the design, the permitting elements,
Right.
if they're trying to focus on the build of their store, they're not focusing on growing their new business.
Okay.
With this franchisee we worked for in New Jersey, by the time we got their doors open, which we got construction done in the midst of a New Jersey winter in about 3.5 months.
Wow. And a New Jersey winter is a significant winter.
Yeah,
Yes, I remember I was up in near that area and bought my first long coat that came down to my knees. It is definitely a different place to be for sure.
absolutely.
Wow. 3.5 months in the dead of winter. That's impressive.
And a lot of that was because it was a tenant improvement space. So other than just putting in some plumbing for the program, we weren't having to dig into raw frozen ground. We're
Thank
we're,
goodness.
we're working off of what's already there, which that was a huge help to begin with.
Yes.
But because we've put the focus on putting all the design, the permitting, the construction management, the franchisee was able to focus on growing his brand, filling his pipeline, having customers ready to spend money the moment the doors opened.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Completely worth every penny.
in doing that method, yes, we kept them up to date as to what was going on
Sure.
every step of the way, but had more time to be able to focus on building their brand.
Right.
By day one of operations, they had 20 customer appointments ready to
Wow.
people to come in and spend money.
Wow.
By the end of month 4 months in business, from the time doors opened, they broke $1 million in gross revenue.
Wow. Wow. What kind of business was that?
That was it's a franchise. It's an emerging franchise called Bod Envy. They specialize in permanent, non-invasive fat reduction.
Oh, okay. Okay. I can I can see why they have people lined up ready. That's great. Wonderful. Okay, operating a franchise and managing projects for multiple franchise brands. What did you learn in your operational consistencies and design standards that influence even more work today?
Understanding every brand is different, but every store operates basically the same. You have customers that come in and spend money. Money gets spent on buying materials, buying goods, and covering labor
Uh-huh.
and staff. They're your staff, and then paying your rent or your mortgage, depending on whether you've bought the space or you're renting it, and then you're enjoying your profits at the end and continuing to repeat and invest. That's what the business owner is focused on, is how fast their return on investment is.
Sure. Uh-huh.
On my side, coming in from handling the design, every concept is different, but every concept has a lot of similarities when you really look at the big picture.
Right.
I've done projects as small as 1,000 square foot. I've done projects as big as 40,000 square foot. In
Right.
reality, it's all the same concept. It's just understanding how to, where to take the first bite of the apple at.
Okay. And what are some of those similarities, even though they're different in size and things? What are those similarities?
I mean, when you're looking at a retail store, every retail store is going to have shelving.
Oh, I
Pretty
see. You mean,
pretty much
okay.
every retail store has a gondola style shelf.
Right.
And so I'm able to, knowing that, it doesn't matter if I'm designing an Ace Hardware, a Walmart, a Target, or another kind of store. When I'm doing the design work, the shelving is, from a plan view, the shelving is the same. It's just a
Okay.
matter of getting it into the plans and
Right.
understanding the spatial requirements that that particular brand requests.
Okay.
How much space they want their customers to have
Isn't it?
in the aisle between the shelves? Are we doing 6 foot tall shelves, 7 foot tall shelves, 8 foot tall shelves? Uh,
Right.
Making certain that visually everything is appealing to the customer. Um,
Okay.
and then also making certain, some franchisees, there's some franchise brands that have minimum core standards and then optional standards that can be added to it. And so then the
Okay.
question to the franchisee is, okay, these are your minimum standards that the brand requires you to have. While we're building, are we looking at adding in any of these optional pieces that we need to
Okay.
build? Because it's way cheaper for the business owner to get some of those additional items added while construction's already in progress
Sure. Rather
than
than, yeah, going
than
back later and
a year or
messing
two
everything
later
up.
say,
Yeah.
"Oh, I want to add this." You have to have the additional mobilization expenses, the additional permitting expenses, um, the additional materials. In today's world, materials are climbing in price.
Oh, they just will not stop, and something's got to give. It's awful. And then too, you got to think, well, is my store going to be closed down during this, or is this going to something that's going to happen through the night? That's going to cost me no more because I got everybody in here working through the night. Lots of things. Okay, so let's switch gears just a little bit. Serving churches and nonprofits. You also specialize in church and nonprofit projects. How do your designs and permitting processes adapt when you're working with like nonprofits and tight budgets and mission driven goals?
The permitting process with the city it's the same. It's
Okay.
really no difference. What's different is obviously a church is an assembly space, so it has a different occupancy rating and
Sure.
and thus a different quantity of people that can be in the building.
Right.
It's going to increase the bathroom counts. That's going to
Right.
increase. It's going to change the metrics of what we have to put into the design. But we still have to understand what the church is looking for from a functional standpoint. What is
Sure.
their operations like today? Most of these churches, they're either renting a space and they're finally in a position of building the space of their own, or
Right.
they're in a space that they have outgrown. And so
Right.
it's a metric of understanding, okay, what space do you have? What kind of space do you need? What kind of, I have to understand, get really get involved in them and understand what they need
Right.
so that I can successfully design their project and give them space, not just for what they need now, but space for their congregation to keep growing.
Oh, that's a good point. A lot of people in their design, they don't think of that future growth and they don't look into the future with a vision so that they can grow. Good for you, Jeff. Okay, so let's talk about your full service advantage with your Wise Design and Management offers like design, permitting, construction management, all under one roof. What are the
Yes.
biggest benefits your clients experience from this integrated approach?
One of the biggest things I run across, and with the traditional focus of hire an architect, get the design work done, that's, oh my God, amazing. get it through permitting, hire a contractor. In that approach, the architects design specifying materials that are beautiful, but not always budget friendly.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So now you
And
got to go back to them, fix that problem.
yep.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think of that.
And so you've got additional design fees. You've got
Sure.
a lot of times you'll have what we call value engineering. Yeah. So I grew up with my mom being a CPA, my dad being an engineer.
Uh-huh.
So, and main reason I chose the design and construction world was, to be honest, I hated the concept of calculus and the arbitrary numbers that didn't relate to anything in the world.
Right.
And for me, construction and design, it's something that is tangible. People see it, and it becomes, well, the work becomes a legacy. It becomes part of the built landscape in our world.
It does. Yeah. For generations to come.
Exactly.
I attended a college where my grandfather was a masonry, and he had done a lot of the stones, had a lot of stone walls and old brick buildings. And as I walked past them, I thought, my grandfather's hands probably were on this university layout here and stuff. So, okay, good stuff. Adapting to codes and budgets. Permitting can vary drastically by city. How do you streamline that code navigation? Because you work all over the country
Yes.
for clients while keeping the design and material costs down.
Yes. One of the biggest things that I strive to do is dig in and find, as soon as the client knows where they're wanting to build at, I start digging in to understand what the code requirements are. There's always going to be some surprises.
Sure.
Because ultimately, when you're from the design perspective versus working with the city inspector who's reviewing the plans.
Oh, yes.
It's all about how the different people are interpreting the codes. For example,
Ooh.
when you're talking about restroom capacity, I had one project in Michigan where the way the code read was one restroom per gender per 25 people.
Right.
So, the inspectors were reading that as, okay, you've got one for 25 people for men, one for 25 people for women. Based on the program, the total occupancy of the space was 21 people.
Right.
And so based on that metric, we should have only needed one restroom.
One restroom, yeah. A male or female restroom. One restroom.
One unisex restroom.
Right.
The permit official said, I don't care what your interpretation is. You have to have one men's and one women's.
Mm.
And so that added about $20,000 to the build cost.
Wow. And I mean, where do you go in that you have a capacity of 20 some people and you have 2 restrooms? Nowhere.
Exactly.
Nowhere. Okay. Let's talk about scaling small businesses. For contractors and tradespeople looking to scale or franchise their operations, what design and project management systems do you recommend they put in place from the outset?
From a financial cost control perspective, I use a combination of QuickBooks and Trust Payments.
Uh-huh.
QuickBooks is an industry standard that's been known for decades. I mean, with my mom having been a CPA, I remember her talking about QuickBooks when I was, a kid. And then growing up as, getting into business myself, it was just an easy thing to jump into.
Right.
I had to learn how it works. Now, what a lot of people don't think about is, okay, I'm getting set up to take payments. I need a way to do my payment processing.
Sure.
Pretty much everything out there takes payment processing.
Right.
But if you don't set it up right, it's like, for example, QuickBooks, in the payment processing, as a business owner, I would have to eat that 3.5% fee that the credit card charges.
Right.
That's where trust payments comes in as my backbone and my support.
Uh-huh.
Trust payments is it has a plug-in to where it automatically syncs with my QuickBooks Online. So I can go create my invoice in QuickBooks, and then I can send it from Trust. Trust gives me the ability to give my clients options. They can choose to pay with an ACH or automatic check
Uh-huh.
at no fees.
Right.
They
That's
get
good.
no fees, I get no fees. Or they can choose to pay with a credit card, and the payment processing platform automatically adds the credit card fee on to the customer side as a
Right.
convenience.
Yeah, that's nice. That's good. Okay, so if let's say somebody's thinking about franchising their operations, what should they think about making a franchise-wide standard when they start thinking about design? What would be the most important standard?
First and foremost, when you're getting ready to start franchising, you need to have a design intent protocol. Some places call, that's where is often referred to as a dip book.
Or
You know,
DIP book?
yes,
Okay. Design in progress?
design in progress, design intent. Basically, from the franchisor's perspective, what they expect all the stores to look like.
Okay. Kind of like your SOP for your design, right?
Yes, we
Okay.
had one of the clients we worked with. We actually put together their DIP book for them.
Oh, wow.
The first 2 stores ever for them were effectively franchisor owned. Their first franchisee was before I got involved, before they had a design intent book, and they didn't really have a lot of standards in place.
Yeah.
And that store, you walk into that store versus the original stores versus the stores that I've helped design for them, it doesn't look anything like the other stores.
So you don't even know what you've walked into.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
It takes away that upfront comfort factor.
Right.
Now, they've been in business. That particular franchisee's been in business for about 4 or 5 years now, and so their clientele is comfortable and knows where they're at.
Yeah.
But if a client was coming from another state where they're used to working with, and they walk into that store, it's going to be a shock to them. It's like, whoa.
Yeah. Like, is this, are you a con artist here? Are you trying to pretend that you're this business? Well, if they would think about it, really, when it comes time to, if they thought about maybe selling out of their business, it would probably be pretty wise to make it that cookie cutter so they can get a bigger price out of it, probably when they go to sell their business, if they thought to do that at any time. Okay, so let's talk about local footprints and big impact. You're locally based in Stanford, Texas, but you have a broad vision. How has serving your community shaped your business model and reputation?
So for me, Stafford is right just adjacent to Sugarland on the southwest side of Houston. Houston is a metro area of over 7.5 million people.
It's huge. Yes.
Yeah. The entire Houston metro area is bigger than the state of Connecticut, just to put it in perspective for people out there. It can easily take 2-3 hours to get across town, especially if you're at traffic rush times.
Wow.
It's like we've got I-10 going through the middle of town. Has 8 lanes each direction.
Mm-hmm. And still back up. It still takes hours.
And that doesn't even include the surface streets.
Right.
And it can still take, from downtown to Katy, which is west on I-10, I'd say about 25 miles, and it can still take hour and a half.
Right.
It's absurd, but people do it all day, every day.
They do.
And so for me, the biggest thing that's helped me with growing my brand so far is, of course, having my website, but going to networking events and getting involved in my church. Um,
Yes.
traditional, starting off with traditional organic growth and word of mouth, and then growing from there.
Yes. BNI is a great place for anybody out there listening. Get to your local BNI chapter. It's a great growing space as well. Okay, so your current focus and vision. Right now, you're leaning into tenant improvements and nonprofit builds. What trends or opportunities are you seeing emerging in those areas and those that excite you the most on building?
On the tenant improvement side, what excites me is 90% of the time it's a new franchisee that is doing what I've done, has decided they are tired of working corporate America and they're ready to create some generational wealth for their family. And so they're starting a business of their own. More often than not, they're buying a franchise of an established brand.
Okay.
And so they're looking for access to get their doors open.
Okay.
And so someone like me, I'm able to help them maximize their ROI by shrinking the amount of time.
Oh, big thing. Time is money, and yeah, so that's impressive. You work work on getting them in there and getting started and getting done fast. Good.
And then
Okay.
the nonprofit side, working on the churches, for me, that's just kind of. I wasn't something I initially really went seeking on, but it was an opportunity that came to me, and um, I truly believe it's coming from the fact that I finally listened to God and started and actually decided to go into business for myself and start my own company.
Right.
I've been in business for 100% focused, self-employed this is in the end of August, so 20 months now, and
Wonderful.
we've got one church that is already in construction closeout, one church that is fully permitted, loan fully funded, and we're getting ready to break ground.
Wow.
3 other churches that are in design development.
Oh my goodness. 5 churches just in 20 months of operations. Impressive, Jeff.
And we're talking anywhere from 8,000 to 15,000 square foot facilities.
So significant. Yeah. Wow.
And
Great.
in a lot of cases, we're impacting communities and congregations of 300 plus.
Yeah. And generations of congregations. That's wonderful. How exciting. So, if a listener is planning a small commercial renovation or a tenant improvement this quarter, what's one action like, getting early code feedback, drafting a simple layout, or engaging with permitting, should they take this week to move their project forward?
If you haven't bought your land yet, get us involved now. Let us help you verify that there's not going to be any surprises. One of the churches we're working on, they bought their land and they had another design group that was helping them. There was a little house on the property that got demolished, and the previous design group told them that the utility easement running through the property was servicing the house because it was not a traditional, most utility easements are 90 degrees parallel to the front of the side of the property. This one was running angular through the property.
Ooh, so
and the previous design group didn't even bother to contact the city and do the due diligence and research.
Oh my.
And so now the last 18 months, I've been working on trying to get this 8-inch sanitary main moved so the way the property is buildable.
Oh, wow. I was going to say, it's probably just worth a parking lot. They ought to go buy the property beside it to build on and use it as a parking lot. Well, that's pretty impressive that you can get it moved. I bet that has been a hard thing to get accomplished, but Yeah, he should send the bill to the last design company.
Yeah, because that moving
Yeah.
that sanitary line is about a $30,000 hit.
That's massive. That's significant.
And we're
Like
talking about,
surprise. Here's an additional $30,000 for you.
and when you're talking about a church that's a nonprofit that doesn't, they're set, they've got set budgets that are set a year in advance,
Yeah,
and they're they're based off of parishioners' donations and tithes. They're, the money that bank's going to approve them for isn't as easy to come by as it is for a traditional business that's
right.
a for-profit entity.
That's
Um,
true.
and so then it becomes the crafty metric of how do we incorporate this extra cost without we're taking away program area, or we're having to cut the building, or something that's going to negatively impact their operation.
Yeah. Even a significant delay at the very least, is hard to deal with.
Yes.
Great. Wow. What an incredible conversation here with Jeff Wisdom. Jeff Wisdom. Oh, you got to correct me, Jeff, and keep me right. Thank you for sharing your story, your insights, and your hard-earned lessons that every builder can take to heart. How can our listeners connect with you?
My website is www.wisedzn.com, and that is spelled WISEDZN.
DZN.com. Okay. So for my listeners out there, here's your challenge. Don't just take notes, take action. Choose one thing Jeff shared today and put it into practice this week. Maybe it's how you lead. Maybe it's how you face obstacles, or how you think about building your business with more intention. Remember, builders don't just dream, they do. The edge is your action. Jeff, I really appreciate the way you've built not just business, but a reputation of trust and excellence. That's rare in this industry, and it's exactly the kind of foundation that scales when the right systems are in place. What I do at D&D Business Systems is help contractors and builders like you with take what's already working in their business, like their word of mouth, their reputation, their quality, like you, and amplify it with automation and visibility so they can grow without adding to the chaos. If you know in another builder or another contractor who could really benefit from having that kind of support behind the scenes, I'd be grateful if you'd introduce us. Thank you, Jeff. It was great having you here. Have a great day.
Thank you so much.